A while back ago now, someone was asking me how I make my bike videos. I promised I'd do a video on it, but then never got around to it, so sorry about that. Regardless, here is how I do it. Unfortunately, it takes a few steps, but once you get things set up, it really isn't that hard. I go into a lot of detail to explain why I'm doing things so you can tweak it to fix what you want to see for your videos, so please jump around to whatever sections you actually care about. To do this, you're going to need some items. You're going to need an action camera to record everything, an SD card for the action camera, and optionally a battery backup for long rides. On your computer, you're going to need the following pieces of software. FFmpeg, if you're using an action camera that splits video clips into smaller segments, Handbrake if you're recording using the HEVC video codec on your action camera, Garmin Basecamp, Garmin Virb Edit, and video editing software such as Shotcut. Optionally, you might want something to download YouTube videos such as 4K Video Downloader. A link for all this will be in the description of this video. For my video recording, I use a GoPro 8 Black. I bought it hoping I could do live streaming with it using my phone as a hotspot, but that didn't work at all. Do yourself a favor and don't buy GoPro. They're overpriced and the company has grown complacent in my opinion. As a result, instead of fixing software issues with the model you have, they're just going to release a new model and expect you to buy the new one. Do yourself a favor and get a different brand. The battery life for an action camera typically isn't amazing, so I also use a battery pack that I have strapped to a rear bicycle rack. It has a solar panel to keep it charged up and working even when I do an all-day bike ride. To record it all, I use a 512GB micro SD card. Make sure that it can at least do 10 megabytes per second if you want it to record in 4K quality. Now while the GoPro can record GPS data, it's done in a proprietary format embedded into the video data. There used to be a way to extract that, but you can't anymore. So I use my cell phone to record my data using an app called Ride with GPS, but you could just as easily use a bike computer. Once my ride is finished, to get the GPS data, I'm going to go to ridewithgps.com and select the ride. Select the More drop-down menu and then select Export as File. You can see on mine that TCX history is already selected. By using this option, you'll get all the information for the route you took, the speed you're traveling at, and the direction you're going, along with data for any sensor you had connected to your phone, like a heart rate monitor, speed and cadence sensors, and so on. Click on download.tcx file and save it to a folder somewhere on your computer. The next step is to plug in your GoPro or whatever action camera you're using and copy the video files over. You can see the GoPro cameras annoyingly split the video files every 4 gigabytes like it's still using Windows 95. We'll fix this for them in a minute, but for now, just copy everything to your computer. I put everything in a folder that I have unimaginably called GoPro. It can take a very long time to copy everything over. You can be patient, or you can buy an SD card to USB adapter and maybe get slightly better speeds. Once it's done, we need to turn this into a single video file. It just makes everything easier. This is where FFmpeg comes in. I've made a video on how to install it and set up, so if you need help there, just click on the little eye icon in the top right of this video. I'll have it linked to the description also, just in case YouTube gets rid of this feature in the future. If you need to combine your video clips, and you have FFmpeg installed now, make a text document called merge. We're going to use this text file to tell FFmpeg what videos to combine. Looking at my file names, you can see that they all start with GX and then have 6 numbers. Only the first 2 numbers actually changed. So here in my text document, I'm going to have 1 line per file. Since I have 19 videos to merge together, I will have 19 separate lines. Each line starts with the word file, a space, a single quotation mark, and then the full path to the video file. The order you put them in is the order they get combined in, with line 1 going first and the last line ending the merged video. Obviously, I've done this a few times, so all I have to do is make sure the file names are right. The last time I did this, I was combining some files that ended in 58. My video now ends in 59, so I'm going to quickly change them. And just so you know, I'm using a program called Notepad++ to do this, so I can quickly change them all in one go. Now that file names are all right, I'm going to delete my extra lines and I'm good to go. The first time you set this up, it can take some time, but once it's set up, all it takes is a quick edit. To combine the video files, open the command prompt window in the current folder by typing cmd into the window bar. Once you have a command prompt window open, enter this command, which again, you can find linked in the description below. The -f concat tells it that we want to join files together. The -safe0 tells it to use an unsafe file paths. Don't worry about the word unsafe. It really isn't unsafe. Without this, you get a bunch of error messages and everything fails. The -i merge.txt tells it we want to merge all the files listed in merge.txt. -c copy tells it we want to use the same audio and video formats. This will prevent our original file from being altered, which could lower its quality. And finally, output.mp4 is the file name it will create. I'm unimaginative, so I'll just use output, but you can name it anything you want to. This can take a while, so while it's doing that, we're going to convert the TCX file into something we can use in the program that will make our overlays. To do this, open Garmin Basecamp, then click on My Collection in the left-hand pane. With it highlighted, select File, then Import into My Collection. Select the .tcx file you downloaded from Ride with GPS. Technically, if you're using a bike computer or action camera that doesn't hide away its GPS data, you probably don't need to do this step. But if you're importing data from Ride with GPS, you have to do this like me. Fortunately, all we're going to do after importing is to immediately export it. So select the new entry under My Collection, then select File and Export. Make sure the Save As type is GPS Exchange Format, the star.gpx, and save it. I try to only have one video encoding thing going on at a time, so I'm going to wait for FFmpeg to get done. For me, with only an hour-and-a-half ride, that took about 25 minutes. Once it's done, I can open the video and see everything is just fine. Don't worry about it being upside down. Again, that's just a dumb GoPro thing that we'll fix later. I'm using a video format called HEVC that uses less space so I can get long rides on my GoPro. But for the videos to work in Virb Edit, I need to convert it to the X264 format. It's a hassle, but unfortunately programs that do these overlays and are free haven't been updated in a long time. To do the conversion, open up Handbrake and drag and drop the newly created output file onto the Handbrake window. I'm going to leave everything on its default in the Summary tab, but I want to change the options on the Dimensions tab. By default, it's going to reduce the resolution from my 4K resolution to 1080p. This will mess up the overlays, so here where it says resolution limit, I'm going to change that to none. Then on the Video tab, I'm going to change the frame rate from 30 to same as source. Finally, I'm going to change the video encoder from H.264 to H.264 parentheses NVIDIA NvEncode. The reason for this is I want to use my NVIDIA graphic card to do the encoding instead of my CPU. Since I already have a powerful processor, it will only save me a little bit of encoding time, but the more important thing is it's not going to bog down my computer while the encoding is going on. If you don't have an NVIDIA card, you'll just have to let it use your CPU instead. Hit the Start Encode button and go do something else while it works. It took me about an hour and a half, so I'm going to leave it and come back later. With it done, it's time to make the overlays. Open Virb Edit, select Import Clips and Photos, and click on the Import Other button. In the pop-up window, select the video you just made using Handbrake. Virb Edit cannot handle the HEVC encode video, but it handles H.264 videos just fine. Once it's done importing the video, it's going to optimize it. In past versions, there was a way to skip this, but for some reason they removed that ability and haven't updated the program since the end of 2018. I know. It's weird to use such an old program, but I've tried about 8 different options, and this was still the best one I ever found. Once it's finally done optimizing, click OK, then Create Video. It's going to want you to add your video clips, so select the video you just imported and drag it down into the video timeline area at the bottom. By default, as soon as you add a video clip, it will take you to the editing area, where it will let you change the playback speed, trim out any unwanted video at the beginning or end of the clip, and most importantly for us, rotate the video to be right side up. With the video set up, we need to add data to it so we can create some overlays. Select the G-Matrix entry, then the Data tab, and click on Import G-Matrix. You can see it stores the past ride I've done, but I want to use the most recent data we just made in Basecamp. So I'm going to click on My Computer, then browse to where I saved my GPX file. Assuming you've done everything correctly, it will show you a map overlay of the route you rode, and show what data the GPX file contains, such as heart rate, cadence, and grade. If I hadn't downloaded the TCX file and converted it using Basecamp, none of this information would have been available on the import. Assuming everything looks right to you, click on Use this log. By default, it gives a somewhat plain looking set of overlays and a water stamp of Garmin Virb on the video. Don't worry, all this can be changed or removed. I've made a couple of standard templates that I personally like to use. This time, I'm going to use bike, because I'm really bad at coming up with names for things. Now since I've made this template, I've since added a cheap cadence sensor, so I'm going to add that overlay by clicking on the Gauge tab, and searching for cadence, then selecting on one that looks similar to the ones I already have on the screen. The reason that what I put on the screen doesn't match the preview is because I changed the color scheme in the Appearance tab. You cannot set a color scheme for each gauge independently of the rest. Whatever scheme you choose applies to everything, but it can still add some unique flair for you. I like this light blue option since it doesn't feel too intrusive to me. There's no quick way to align the gauges, so I'm just going to have to eyeball it until it looks about right. Before I can export the video though, I need to fix the sync issue. At this point, the sensors have provided some timestamps for when the data was recorded, but VirbEdit doesn't know how to sync that to the video, so it just assumes the GPS data starts at the very first second the video does. This is never the case, since I have to record the GPS data using Ride with GPS. To fix the sync, I need to go back to the Data tab and then click on G-Matrix Sync. This will show me where the video is on the left and where the GPS data says I should be on the right. I can drag the red dot around to match up to where the video shows me to be. You can see how the video has me not moving, but the GPS data has me jumping off right away. That's because I started the camera prior to starting the ride on my phone. I do my best to get it synced up at the start, but honestly the easiest way I found to sync things up is to find a spot where I'm stopped in the video, and then do my best to make sure that my speed stops at the same time I stop in the video. Once you're satisfied, click on Done to apply the change. At this point, I like to scan through the video to make sure my gauge is synced up correctly. Since my speed is calculated based on my GPS position, it lags just a bit behind reality. But once you have it synced to your satisfaction, it's time to export the video. For resolution, make sure it's the same resolution as your video's resolution. 30 frames per second is fine for frame rate, and target quality should be max. When you export it, you could upload the video and be done. But I want to add some music, and there was also one part of my ride where I was stopped behind a car for a long time at a red light. I'd like to edit out their license plate just to be nice. So as part of my export, I want to make sure to have the box next to Export Transparent PNG Sequence for Overlays is checked. Set the folder you want your video to export to, and then click Export. This process takes hours to finish, especially if you are exporting transparent PNG sequences. For my really long rides, I've had it take a solid 8 hours. So I try to let this run overnight and pick things up fresh in the morning. Now at this point, you can save some time and hassle by using the video made by VirbEdit in your video editing program. But it's in a larger video format than I'd like, and so far, I've had to re-encode the video to the X264 codec, re-encode it in VirbEdit to add overlays, and if I add music, that would be a third re-encoding. Each time you re-encode it, the video quality will take a slight drop. Personally, I want to preserve as much of the original quality as possible, so there is one more step before we use the video editor. When you come back the next morning, browse the folder you exported your video to, and open the PNG sequence folder it created. Each picture here represents one frame of a video file. At 30 frames per second, for an hour-and-a-half long ride, this made 175,566 pictures. There is no way we could work with this on a photo-by-photo basis, so it's FFmpeg to the rescue again. Click on the location bar of your file browser and type in CMD to open a command prompt window at the current location. Next, enter this command. Again, I'll have it down in the description area of this video as well. -framerate 30 is telling FFmpeg that the frame rate the PNGs were created at is 30 frames per second. -I frame_%06d is telling FFmpeg that the input for the video we're about to create is any file name that starts with the word frame_, ends with 6 numbers, and then the PNG extension. -vcodec PNG is where the magic really is happening at. By using the PNG video codec, it's preserving the transparency of each PNG file. This lets us put the final video as an overlay on top of the original file we merged together. -R30 sets the frame rate of the video file to 30 frames per second. It's important to make sure that the -frame rate and the -R settings are the same. And finally, I once again show how unimaginative I am by naming the output as z.mov, since this is the last video I need to make before I could edit it. Thankfully, this only takes a handful of minutes to combine these PNGs into a single file, and we can finally get to editing. I use Shotcut to make my videos. It's free, has a lot of features, and supports MKV video files unlike DaVinci Resolve or Adobe Premiere. In Shotcut, I'm going to make 3 video tracks and an audio track, then place my overlays on V2 and the original video on track V1. The third video track is there just in case I need to make a note on the screen to explain something. Since the original shows the video upside down, I'm going to select the video, then click on Filters and add a Size, Position, Rotate filter to rotate the video 180 degrees. At the first of my video, I have a section where I'm just sitting around getting everything set up that I don't want in the finished version. So I'm going to move the video ahead to where I want it to actually start, then split it into 2 video clips by pressing the S key with the video selected. Before I delete out the boring parts of me just sitting around, I want to make sure I keep the overlays synced up correctly. One way to do this is to split the overlay video into 2 clips at the exact same location. But if you click on this little asterisk in the circle icon, Shotcut will do all that for you. Any clip you cut out from one track will have the exact same segment cut out from all tracks. Once I've enabled that, I'll highlight the clip that I want to remove and press the X button to cut it out. Now the video starts right when I get going on my ride. One other thing I need to do is edit the properties of the PNG overlay and change its speed to 0.999. For some reason, the overlay video is always just a fraction too fast. The rest is just me making little tweaks. I felt like I ended up not getting the sync just right in Virb. My speed jumped over before I actually started biking, so I'm going to drag the overlay video back just a tiny bit on my timeline to fix that and check to see how it looks when I start and stop at a red light later on. One of the aesthetic things I like to do is to have my overlays become visible a little after the start of the video. So I'm going to uncheck the asterisk symbol, split the overlay clip where I want the overlays to start with the S key, and then remove the clip by selecting it and pressing the X key. Then, instead of just having the overlay pop up on the screen, I'm going to add a fade in effect by going to the top left of the clip in the timeline area. You'll know you're in the right spot when this little circle appears. Double click there, and a short fade in will automatically be placed. We're almost done here. I don't want the audio for my bike ride, so I'm going to right click on my bike video, go to More, and select Detach Audio. It will place the audio on a separate track that I can highlight and delete. In its place, I want some relaxing music. I personally like to use music from a YouTube channel called The Relaxed Movement. I'll select their most recent video, copy its URL, and use the program 4K Video Downloader to extract just the audio by clicking on Paste Link. While it's downloading, there's a section where I want to blur out a license plate. This is mostly symbolic on my part. It's a 4K video where several cars pass me. You can easily pause and clearly read any number on them. And since license plates are public, my video won't be in trouble for displaying it. But there's just something different between a car driving past and me having this license plate front and center for a long time. To blur it out, I have to do some movie magic. First, I'm going to move the overlays onto track 3. Then I'm going to split the video clip where I want the blur to start and copy and paste that onto track 2. On the new clip, add a crop rectangle filter and change the padding color to transparent, then add a blur effect. The reason you have to do it this way is currently Shotcut doesn't let you blur out a specific area. It's an all or nothing on a video clip. So placing a copy of the original clip and adding a crop and a blur filter lets us create a box that blurs out one section of the video while leaving the rest normal. From here, I'm going to click Crop Filter and then the clock icon by its position and size. This will let me change the crop position and size as the video moves along, so I can keep the license plate area blurred out as the video progresses. I'll go from either a couple of frames to a couple of seconds if I can actually hold still, and then tweak the location of the blur to make sure I'm keeping the license plate covered. Like I said, this is a symbolic gesture on my part, so I'm not going to be overly picky about it. But if a minor were to appear on screen, I might actually need to blur out a face, so this is a good skill to know. Once that's done, I can add the music track in, and I'll split, then cut out some silence at the beginning of the audio, so it starts along with my video. And I'll come to the end here and make sure that all 3 tracks are ending at the same time. Just like I did at the beginning of the video, I'm going to fade out the overlays just a little bit before the video ends. And I'll add in my ending picture. Once I place it on the track, I can move it so it overlaps the end of my bike video to create a nice little fade transition. Then I'll expand this out to about 20 seconds long because that's what YouTube uses for its end cards. With that, it's finally time to export everything. Click on the Export tab, check the video resolution to make sure it's set correctly. For me, it was showing a 1920 by 1080 resolution. So I'm going to change that to my 4K resolution of 3840 by 2160. And I'll set the frame rate to 30 since that's all the original video was recorded at anyways. Under the codec tab, I want to make sure that I have HEVC_NVENC selected. This will make it a smaller video file than using the H.264, and NVENC will use my NVIDIA graphics card. If you have an AMD graphics card, I believe you can use the HEVC_AMF to make use of it. Changing the quality percent number here will increase or decrease the compression used. The lower the quality number, the higher the compression. I've never gone higher than 65%. You hit a point where you're not improving the quality of the video by going higher anymore. You're just not making use of the compression algorithms it uses. For this video, I'm going to try using a 52% quality. I need my final file lower than 15 gigabytes since I'm going to upload this to Rumble, and 15 gigabytes is their max file size. I'll get a file name and off it goes encoding. The last thing I need to do is get rid of all those PNG files. If you just select them all at once and hit delete, it will take hours and hours to delete them. Windows just can't handle deleting that many files at once. Instead, open a command prompt window in the folder where all your PNG files are located and enter this command. The /F forces deletions of any file marked read-only. Technically, you probably don't need this one, but it's better to have it there than not. The /q sets it to quiet, so you won't be prompted to confirm your deletions. /s is extremely important. It tells it to only delete files of a specific type from the current directory and its subdirectory, so make sure you're in the right folder before using this. Then star.png tells it to delete all the PNG files from this directory. And finally, the greater than symbol, null, tells it to get rid of them permanently and not to place them in the recycle bin. Now you can see that I messed up and do star.star instead of star.png, which will delete all files of any format. Thankfully, I had Shotcut open, so my z.mov was prevented from being deleted. If I had done this without Shotcut being open, I would have lost my overlay video and had to recreate everything in Virb edit. It can take several hours to encode the video in Shotcut, but once it's done, here's the final result. I hope this video was helpful. I know it can seem daunting, but once you do it once and once it's all set up, it takes just a small amount of time to actually make the video. Most of the time, you're off doing other things while your computer is busy encoding some video. That's it for this video. If you want to support me making more of this kind of video, you can join my supporters by searching for Life with Matthew on Subscribestar or Patreon, or just clicking on the links in this video. Thank you to my current supporters, which, according to my notes, are John DeMarco at the Priority 1 Hail level, Thomas Potts at the Section 31 tier, and at the Hailing Frequencies Open tier are the Salty Trekker, Ben Joaz, Rock Solid Productions, Commodore Ty, Bird of Prey 5, and Dr. Alex. Be sure to subscribe for more, and until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.